what if the file doesn't exist? The program will just crash completely. You know, it will be a bug in the system, because obviously, you know, we enter a file name that doesn't exist, and the computer would just say what's going on, and it would stop the whole application, and we don't want that to happen. So we want to do a little test to see if the file exists. If the file exists, then, you know, proceed, start counting the lines and start doing all these other things that needs to be done, and close it at the end. But if it doesn't exist, we want to capture that error, do something with it, and continue with the application. Maybe tell the user, sorry, you've entered the wrong file, please try again. You know, instead of actually crashing completely, we can notify the user that he's made a mistake. So the way to do that, we use something called a try and catch, which is exceptions. And I kind of mentioned it in the beginning of the tutorial, I think in, you know, part 2 video, where I actually said we're going to be talking about exceptions. So we might as well put it to use. Now, the way it works is you have to do it something try. So we're going to try something, and then we put a curly brace. Now what I need to do is we need to actually basically see if that file it really exists or not. So we're going to try something. So I'm going to say if file dot exists. It's so easy, isn't it? And then the file name that was given to us, it was seeing if this actually exists or not. And if it does exist, we open the curly brace like so, and we perform all this, and we close at the end. I've just done a misspelling, just noticed it, so it exists, not exits. So yeah, if it exists, do this. If it doesn't exist, it won't even try to open the file, so it won't actually go through these problems. But what if the file doesn't exist? What's going to happen? So we need to do another condition, maybe say if the same thing as above, same as that, but this time we're going to do the opposite of it. We can always do an else, but I'm going to just put the conditions so at least you can decide how to go about it. Exists, let's find exists again, and this time I'm going to say file name again. So you might notice the only difference is that exclamation mark, and that basically says not. So if file exists, not, it doesn't exist. Then throw exception. So we're going to say throw new exception, and the exception that we're going to be throwing is a file not found exception. So that would basically throw the exception to the user and say, look, you know, there's a little problem here and we need to catch that exception. So we close. I might have a few curly braces, too many. So we're going to continue first, and then we'll see if the errors will go away by themselves as we're progressing. So we need to catch that error, exception that we just thrown, and the file not found exception, and we're going to store it in EX. Maybe it'd be wise to actually tell the user by having like a pop-up box of some sort that will actually tell them, look, the file doesn't exist. You might have noticed it in a demo that I did. So the way to do that is just type a message box. Where's message box? As you can see, it's not actually showing a message box, and it's causing an error. And the reason for that is basically because we need to actually add the Windows forms. So we need to add that as part of the namespace. So we're going to do that now using system dot Windows and then form. Right, if I go down again, the error should be gone away. Well, almost. Message box, and then I'll say show. And now we need to give the message that we're sending to the user. so the file does not exist. And if we like, we can actually add a few buttons as well. Let me just start a new line just so you can be clear to do what we're doing here. So message message box button, and put OK. And we can have another one as well, message box button. Maybe we can have explanation. Yeah, it's icon. That's what I wanted. Icon dot explanation mark. So it's like explanation mark saying, look, there's a problem, like a warning of some sort. And that's it. We could always do something else. We can always print to the console as well, so we can actually see somewhere else the error message itself. So I'm going to use that here. I'm going to say console write line. So this write line. I tend to get confused between Java sometimes, and so basically that should be right, but I just misspelled the line. It has to be a capital L. So that would print that error message that's being caught, which is here. It will print it to the console. So it's like a command prompt kind of, error that will be printed. We'll see it when we run the application. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If I close that, then we have all these in there. What am I missing? So this one refers, sometimes when you can't actually find what's missing, you can just highlight the thing, and so it's actually highlighted here, and it will tell us where this one ends. Which one? That one closes which one? Right, so that's it. That's pretty much it. That's that one closes this one. You can't probably see it, but it's actually highlighting up here. So yeah, it's always good to go through, because sometimes you miss a semicolon or a curly brace, and it causes a little error. So try to eliminate all the errors before you try to build and run